I never thought I'd find myself in this situation. Standing in the rain, at 2 in the morning, staring at the light in my wife's bedroom window, from across the street. I wasn't inside. I wasn't home. I was hiding, watching. Because for the first time in our 10-year marriage, I had the gut-wrenching feeling that something was horribly wrong. Earlier that night, I'd come back from a business trip earlier than planned. I didn't tell her. I wanted to surprise her. But when I pulled up to our driveway, there was another car parked there. A sleek, black BMW I'd never seen before. At first, I thought it might belong to a neighbor or a friend. But then, I saw shadows moving behind the curtains of our bedroom. 2 shadows. One was her, and the other was definitely not me. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. I told myself to be rational. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was just a friend. But the way the silhouettes moved, close, almost touching, made my stomach twist. I stood there in the dark, frozen, watching. And then, I saw him. A tall man, shirtless, walking past the window like he owned the place. She followed him, wearing my shirt. My shirt. Something inside me snapped. I turned around, walked back to my car, and drove off. But instead of going anywhere, I parked 2 streets away and sat there in silence, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I wasn't ready to confront her yet. I needed to know more. Who was he? How long had this been going on? And most importantly, why? That night, I made a decision that would change everything. I was going to find out the truth, no matter how ugly it was. The next morning, I acted as if nothing had happened. I came home around 9 a.m. carrying a bag of groceries, pretending I had just returned from my trip. She greeted me at the door, smiling, kissing me on the cheek like everything was perfectly normal. But I noticed the faint scent of cologne on her shirt, the same shirt she'd worn last night. It wasn't mine. I knew my cologne, and this one was different. Stronger. Sharper. Over breakfast, I studied her face. She laughed at my jokes, asked about my trip, touched my hand like she always did. But her eyes, they didn't meet mine for long. She looked away quickly, as if afraid I might see something. I decided to test her. "So," I said casually, "anything interesting happened while I was gone?" She shook her head, smiling. "Nothing at all. Just work and Netflix. You know me." I nodded, pretending to believe her. But inside, I was boiling. She lied to my face without a flicker of hesitation. Later that day, when she went to take a shower, I quietly went through her phone. She had deleted all recent messages. All of them. That was unusual. She never cleared her chats. Then I checked her call history. There it was, an unknown number she'd called 3 times yesterday. I memorized it instantly. That evening, I stepped outside to take a walk, but instead, I dialed the number. A man's voice answered. Deep, confident. "Hello?" I froze for a second before speaking. "Who is this? Who's asking?" he shot back. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but now I had a voice to match the shadow I had seen last night. From that moment, I knew this wasn't just some fling. There was something deeper going on. And I was going to find out exactly what, before it destroyed me. The next few days, I became a ghost in my own home. I didn't confront her, didn't accuse her. Instead, I watched. I studied her every move, every glance at her phone, every excuse to run errands. On Thursday evening, she said she was going out for coffee with her friend Emily. I knew Emily, sweet girl, married, never a problem. But my gut told me she wasn't meeting Emily that night. The moment she drove away, I grabbed my keys and followed her at a distance. She didn't head toward the coffee shop. She took a turn toward the old industrial district, quiet, half abandoned, the kind of place no one visits unless they have a reason. She pulled into a small parking lot behind a warehouse. And there he was, the same tall guy from that night, leaning against his car, smoking. She stepped out, and he immediately wrapped his arms around her. She kissed him. Not a quick hello kiss, a slow, intimate one. I gripped the steering wheel so tightly my hands hurt. I wanted to storm over, drag her away, demand answers. But something told me not to. Not yet. Instead, I pulled out my phone and started recording. I filmed them walking into the warehouse together. The door closed behind them. I waited. 10 minutes. 20. An hour. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would burst out of my chest. Finally, the door opened. They came out laughing. He had his arm around her waist like she was his. She looked happy, happier than she'd looked with me in months. When she drove off, I stayed behind, staring at that warehouse. Something about it felt wrong. No signs, no company name, just a single unmarked door and tinted windows. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just an affair. Whatever she was involved in, it was bigger than that. The next morning, while she was still asleep, I decided to dig deeper. I drove back to that warehouse, parking far enough away so I wouldn't be noticed. In daylight, the place looked even stranger. No business sign, no security cameras, at least none I could see. The only thing that stood out was the black BMW, parked exactly where it had been last night. I walked around the building, trying to peek inside, but the windows were completely blacked out. Then I noticed something. A security keypad by the side door, the kind you'd see in places where privacy was everything. I didn't know what was going on inside, but I knew one thing. My wife wasn't just meeting him for romance. There was a purpose to all of this. When I got home, she was already in the kitchen, making breakfast, acting like nothing had happened. I couldn't even look at her without seeing him. Later that day, I called Emily, her so-called coffee friend. After a few minutes of small talk, I casually mentioned their meetup last night. Emily was confused. "Meet-up? We haven't seen each other in weeks," she said. And there it was. The final nail in the coffin. My wife wasn't just lying. She was building an entire web of stories to cover her tracks. That night, while she was in the shower, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. The name that flashed on the screen wasn't saved, just the number I'd memorized days ago. My pulse quickened. I grabbed the phone and swiped the message open before it disappeared. It read, "Tomorrow. Same place. Don't be late. And don't tell anyone." I stared at the words until the screen dimmed. My mind was racing. Whatever was happening in that warehouse, I was going to be there tomorrow. But this time, I wouldn't just be watching. The next evening, I followed her again. Same route. Same warehouse. Only this time, I parked even closer and slipped out of my car, staying in the shadows. I watched her greet him with that same warm smile that used to be mine. They went inside, and I waited a few minutes before approaching the door. It was locked, of course. But as I moved along the side of the building, I found a half-open loading dock. Quietly, I slipped in. The inside was dim, lit only by a few overhead lamps. My footsteps echoed on the concrete floor as I crept forward. Voices carried from the far end, hers and his, but there were others. I peeked around a stack of crates and froze. There were at least 6 people sitting at a table, counting stacks of cash. My wife was there, right beside him, passing bundles from a duffel bag. This wasn't an affair. It was some kind of operation. I pulled out my phone, started recording, and then my foot accidentally kicked an empty can. The metallic clang was deafening. Her head snapped toward me. Our eyes met. "Mark?" she said, shocked. The tall man jumped up, grabbing something from his waistband. A gun. I ran. I didn't think. I just sprinted toward the loading dock, heart slamming against my ribs. I could hear their footsteps chasing me. I dove into my car, slammed the door, and peeled out of the lot, tires screeching. In the rearview mirror, I saw him standing there, watching me go, his hand still holding the gun. When I got home, I sat in the dark, the recording still open on my phone. My wife came back hours later, but I didn't speak to her. I didn't need to. Because now, I had enough evidence to destroy her, and whatever she was a part of. The only question was, should I go to the police, or should I make her pay in my own way?